Hey there, so today I want to talk a little bit about IDW comic books. Now, IDW comic books have been interesting for a number of reasons. Be that in the discussions about the overall commodities they represent and decline in quality, and quite a few of them. Be that the professionals that are in their employ and how some of them act or react to customers and how they represent the company overall. And also within revenue. Now, revenue is a particular interest because at the end of the day, we're talking about businesses here. We're not talking about platforms for identity or politics. We're talking about entities that are out there to make money. Now, if you saw any of the articles about IDW and their Q3 2017, one thing that sticks out is the decline in overall revenue for IDW comic books during that time, 91%. Literally, let that sink in. They had a net decrease of 91% from one year to the other. Now, just so no one thinks that that is an exaggeration, here is one of many articles that cover the subject. I know that this is bleeding cool too, but the way that they present it, they actually present this article well. You can see how it's laid out here. There are the actual numbers. They present the numbers throughout as well as how IDW explains the drop-off. But you can see right here, net income was down over 91% from the previous year. Now, a lot of people talked about that during Q3. But one of the conversations that never continued was this. No one ever asked, hey, what about Q4? So today, I want to talk with you about Q4. Now, we're going to be looking at an article that highlights the 2017 results for IDW comic books. You can look them up yourself and disseminate all of that knowledge. It's publicly available information out there. I just think it's easier to break down this way. Now, a few things to remember with this. Q3 was blamed on certain properties coming in, so Q4 was supposed to look better. We could review articles on that if anyone wants to break that in further detail. But if you look back at the Bleeding Cool article even, it's going to highlight their response and what they say will happen. In Q4, they will continue to push that blame forward and say that, in 2018, things will look better. Also, within this, they will highlight the non-comic portion to make them sound better. And that really makes you wonder about what is going on with their print media and why they don't see all the problems that certain facets of that represent, why they don't really look at their overall standards and why they don't change things. But anyhow, let's begin. IDW Media reports their Q4 and fiscal year 2017 results, blames comic downturn for losses. IDW Media Holdings announced its results for the Q4 and fiscal year ending October 31st, 2017. The company in the announcement focused on the company's success in non-comics and said that will help accelerate the growth in 2018. It also highlighted its transition to Random House for distribution, as well as their new Star Wars and Sonic the Hedgehog comics, as hopefully helping turn things around in 2018. Now, a few comments on that. First of all, on the Random House thing. This actually took effect in April 2017. So this is not something that's new. I'm not really sure why a year after the fact that should be the thing that you focus on. Hey, going forward, 8 months later, we might actually see return on that. I'm not sure why that is the thing you pass the buck on. Then again, bringing up Sonic the Hedgehog comics as one of the things that are going to hopefully turn things around. Now, I have seen good comics come from Sonic the Hedgehog. I never thought I would say that, but I read some of what my daughter picked up in a comic bin for a quarter, and they were actually good comics. Having said that, I don't see them as some huge money maker there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they sell quite a few comic books, but when you throw in Star Wars and then you say Sonic the Hedgehog in the same breath, that's kind of a scary thing to go with. Anyhow, continuing. However, despite strength in television, IDW felt the sting of the comic industry as a whole and saw a decline in 2017. The company had $4.9 million less in revenue in 2017 compared to 2016. Now, saying that you have $5 million less dollars from one year to the next, that's a lot of money for any company, but especially when you're looking at a smaller company. When you look at a company the size of IDW Comic Books, eating that, especially percentage-wise, that is a huge amount of revenue. You'll see that within the numbers as we continue, so let's go ahead. Now, here's the highlights of the announcement. Now, remember, you can go check all of these out, look at the whole thing. It is very boring reading. The reason we're doing it this way and not boiling it down to specific comic books is I want you to see the company as a whole when we're looking at this. I want you to see how the company is making money, what portions are doing well, and what portions are basically, leaking like a sieve. So, fiscal fourth quarter and fiscal year-end 2017 financial highlights. Revenue of $20 million for quarter 4 2017 compared to $23.6 million for the year ago period. That is a negative 15.4% and $16.7 million in quarter 3/17. So that's actually an increase of 19% between quarters, but still, when you're comparing one portion to the next as far as a year ago, you're talking about over 15% decline here. Revenue of $60.4 million for the fiscal year 2017 compared to $65.3 million for the previous year. So when you look at those numbers, again, $4.9 million loss there, or not a loss, but less in revenue. You're not losing revenue, period. You just have a decline in revenue coming in. The year-over-year decline in revenue and the sequential quarterly increase in revenue are discussed below for each segment of the company. Gross profit margins for the company of 40.8% for quarter 4 2017 compared to 42.1% for quarter 4 2016 and 46.2% for quarter 3 2017. So look at that. You actually have quarter 4 eaten away, not only from year to year, but you actually have a 5.8% decline from quarter 3 to quarter 4. Now, of course, there can be many things that eat away at that, and they do talk about that. We'll hit that really quickly here, but also looking from year to year in the next sentence, gross profit margin for the company of 44.9% for fiscal year 2017 compared to 47.2% for the previous year. So we have a decline with the years from 47.2 to 44.9%. So again, gross profit margin, you're not making as much money. The year-over-year decline was principally due to the increased printing cost at IDW Publishing, so they're saying it costs more to print books and materials, reduced revenue at CTM Media Group, where almost all direct costs are fixed costs, so they actually had a reduced revenue there. They have a fixed cost here, so they can't blame it on an increased cost for, say, publishing like they did before, and a change in revenue mix in which a higher percentage of the total revenue were from relatively lower margin offerings, partially offset by an increase in gross margin at IDW Entertainment. Net income for the company of $0.7 million for quarter 4 2017 compared to $2 million for quarter 4 2016 and $0.1 million or $100,000 for quarter 3 2017. Net loss for the company of $0.8 million or $800,000 for fiscal year 2017 compared to net income of $3.7 million for the previous year. Now that is a sentence that speaks for itself there. Let's review it one more time to make sure we hit this because, man, that's an insane comment. Net loss for the company of $800,000 for fiscal year 2017 compared to net income of $3.7 million for the previous year. So basically, instead of making $3.7 million bucks, they lost $800,000 within this. The decline in net income from the prior year was principally due to declines in revenue and gross profit margins, as well as an increase in SG&A expenses at IDW Entertainment associated with the launch of new programs. Additionally, we saw increases of $700,000 in quarter 4 2017 and $2.6 million for fiscal year 2017 compared to the prior year periods of non-cash compensation expenses associated with the grant of stock to employees beginning in quarter 1 2017. The sequential improvement in quarterly net income was principally due to the increased revenue discussed here. Now, cash balance for the company of $9.2 million at year-end was $3 million higher than at the previous year-end, primarily due to the cash raised in the capital stock offering of quarter 3 2017, and $8 million lower than $17.2 million at the end of quarter 3 2017. The decline during quarter 4 2017 was primarily due to investments in television productions to support the anticipated future growth of the IDW Entertainment business. The investments in production assets is reflected in the increased balances of accounts receivable and inventory of IDW Entertainment, which the company expects to convert to revenue beginning in fiscal year 2018. Now, I really like that sentence there. I like the way that this is framed, if you look at it, because they're basically saying that, hey, this shortfall in money here, where you saw $8 million lower from one quarter to the next, hey, well, you'll see some return on that. You'll see some revenue beginning in fiscal year 2018. Stockholders, it's just over there, right at the end of that rainbow. Don't you see it? I love it when companies do that kind of stuff. It's so absurd. And they all do that, too. This is not unique to them. IDW Entertainment revenue of $7.6 million for quarter 4 2017 compared to $8.3 million for quarter 4 2016 and $5.2 million for quarter 3 2017. IDW Entertainment revenue of $16.2 million for fiscal year 2017 compared to $16 million for the previous year. So they actually made money here from year to year. That's interesting there. Now, when you look at the numbers overall here, they actually made more money from quarter 3 to quarter 4, but there's still a less money when you look at the quarters, when you compare them from year to year. Now, the decrease in revenue from the prior year quarter and increase from the prior year was principally due to the timing of delivery of episodes of television properties that are being produced. As further described in this release, IDW Entertainment is positioned for significant future growth with programs at various stages of development and production. Now, that actually makes sense within that statement. You know, depending on when episodes fall, you're going to see differences in how much money that you raise during certain portions of the year. You really have to look at the whole, the year in total or physical year to really be able to tell how much money is coming from that. Now, IDW Publishing here, continuing. IDW Publishing revenue of $6.8 million for quarter 4 2017 compared to $9.4 million for quarter 4 2016 and $5.4 million for quarter 3 2017. IDW Publishing revenue of $24.5 million for fiscal year 2017 compared to $27.9 million for the previous year. Now look at the differences in pricing here. They had one heck of a dip in quarter 3 when you're talking 5.4 million compared to 6.8 in quarter 4, but still look at the differences from 1 year to the next here as far as quarter, and then 1 year to the next as far as the entire year. Now, continuing article, IDW publishing revenue in fiscal year 2017 was impacted by a cyclically slow period in the comic book specialty market, compounded by temporary disruptions related to the transition in distributors to Random House. Now, that's interesting, again, because if you look up articles on that, when did that transition take place? Why exactly is it impacting way off the quarter if they're talking about it here? With the move to Random House complete, and with the planning release of major titles including Star Wars Adventure, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Star Trek Discovery, as well as new games including Atari Centipede, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Nickelodeon Splat Attack, we anticipate continued sequential growth in IDW publishing, which includes IDW games. Now again, looking at these titles here, do you feel excited about them? Because I don't feel a lot of excitement with this. I don't see myself or people that I know really dropping money on these titles. Now, granted, if Sonic the Hedgehog really presented itself in a way that a kid could enjoy it, I may actually change my mind on that. But remember, every IDW comic book too, you're talking about $4, or when they're talking about increased printing costs, we may actually be seeing an increase in that cost as we move forward. You never really know there. And then when they're talking about games, they're talking about Atari Centipede, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Nickelodeon Splat Attack. Now, I'm not excited about anything like that. I would be excited about some Sonic the Hedgehog had I not been burned many times like so many people have. Anyway, continuing. CTM Media Group revenue of $5.6 million from quarter 4 2017 compared to $5.9 million for quarter 4 2016 and $6.1 million for quarter 3 2017. CTM Media Group revenue of $19.7 million for fiscal year 2017 compared to $21.4 million for the previous year. So again, you can see a decline here for overall year. Now, if you're looking from quarter 1 year to quarter the next year, you can see a decline there, and you even see a decline over quarters. Now, the year-over-year decline is attributable to the loss of certain locations and customers, including due to cyclical factors impacting the Broadway industry. The sequential decrease is primarily attributable to seasonal factors. We expect CTM to increase revenue in financial year 2018 via introduction of new products, creating new partnerships, and a rebranding initiative. Basically, we're going to try to look like something new, and we're going to bring in new products and new partners. When you're doing that, you better bring in new people to represent things as well, and I mean that across the board. Otherwise, fans that have been burned by any of your stuff, you're not going to see people return to it. If they see you attached to it, you may be able to fool them time and again rebranding, but after a little while, burnt people, they don't simply not come back to a company. Some of them won't come back to an entire industry because of things. So, you may actually impact not only a product in one realm, but you may impact yourself as a company, and you may impact other companies as well. Significant highlights and milestones. IDW is now poised for significant growth. With the success of IDW Entertainment's initial programs, the media industry has recognized both the value of IDW Publishing's extensive library of proprietary content and IDW Entertainment's capabilities to produce world-class programming. Now, they're talking about here, they're going to talk about a few items that are coming up. I actually liked one of them, so hey, they got me on board for one of these things. So continuing, Season 2 of critically acclaimed series Winona Earp premiered on Sci-Fi Channel in the US, Viacom in the UK and Australia, and Netflix worldwide. And the fan-favorite series was renewed by Sci-Fi for Season 3, which went into production in January 15th, 2018. Now, I've heard people talk about that and actually enjoying the show. I personally have not checked it out because Sci-Fi Channel, I feel like they have gone way downhill, and personally, I don't want anything else to do with them. I remember a time when they produced really good quality content. Maybe they're producing it again, but there was this portion right in the middle of, the last 2 years at least, that I remember on the high side of that it was awful. And then listening to them too, when they talk with customers or about certain things that transpire, they have a huge issue as far as politics and as far as identity. They go out and they present certain things at the expense of a lot of their consumers. It's hard for me to get behind that. Continuing, IDW Entertainment entered into a partnership with Hulu to produce IDW Publishing's critically acclaimed, multiple award-winning, and internationally recognized franchise Lock and Key. Now, that's exciting stuff for me. I have to say that as a fan of that, I am really excited to see the show finally get off the ground. Fox, they had it in the bag and they decided to pass on it. That was their mistake. Hulu, I think, will do a much better job here anyway. Production has been completed on the pilot episode by an all-star creative team, including writer Joe Hill, director Andy Muschietti, and with Carlton, I think that's Hughes, serving as showrunner. IDW Entertainment is creating a world-class production for a Lock and Key that will entertain fans globally. Now, I do have to say, that is something that I'm down with. Season 2 of Dirk Gently premiered on BBC America in the US, and Season 1 premiered globally outside of the US on Netflix. While BBC America recently announced that the series will not be renewed for a third season, the production of Dirk Gently, which was based on third-party content, helped to establish IDW Entertainment's reputation as a producer of high-quality television programming. So basically, when you look at that, they got other people to show it. You actually have it showcasing in America here, so they sold that. But still, there's not going to be a third season of it. So, the spin on that, that's nice. I like how they spun that. I have to give them kudos on actually spinning that and saying, well, that showcased that we can make good shows, despite the fact that we weren't renewed for a Season 3. I like that. I think that was really good. Anyway, continuing. IDW Entertainment began development on Jonathan Killerman's best-selling book property, Alex Delaware, as a scripted series for multiple platforms with Barry O'Brien, CSI Miami, and Castle on board as writer and showrunner. The Alex Delaware franchise consists of 32 titles, selling over 40 million copies, making it the longest-running contemporary crime series with millions of fans worldwide. Now, sometimes that'll translate to sales, definitely. Sometimes when you're translating things from book to television, you have a problem there. That can be a double-edged sword. So hopefully that works out for them. But still, okay, I could see that. I'm not very interested in that one way or the other, but still, okay. Continuing. IDW Entertainment anticipates an increase in production and has 6 new series as an active development based on titles from IDW Publishing, including V-Wars, October Faction, Lore, Winter World, Life Undead, and Chicacabra, with additional properties in the pipeline for fiscal year 2018 and beyond. Now, I've not seen a lot of IDW comic books that I really wanted to check out, so a lot of those, you might as well call those another language. I mean, I don't know anything about them pro and con, and I really won't go and check them out because of that. Continuing, IDW Entertainment also expects to expand into digital platforms via the company's recently established IDW Digital Studio. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means there, but still, okay. Then we get to the nice things, the nice IDW Publishing portions, because I thought this would be good to discuss here. Now, IDW Publishing had a relatively soft year in financial year 2017 due to industry-wide slowness in the comic book market and the short-term disruption from the company's transition to Random House as its new book market distributor. IDW Publishing will seek to maximize the benefits of that major change in financial year 2018. Importantly, IDW Publishing's growing library continues to support proprietary, high-quality content for IDW Entertainment and is well positioned to fuel the accelerated growth of IDW Entertainment. So there's really not a lot said there. It's interesting how they basically blame this on the industry, itself being slow. They don't want to look internally at the items that they're producing. They say, well, everybody had a problem. Therefore, that's just the industry. You have to ask for yourself, why then do certain titles perform better than others? And why do certain people, when they go out and promote, why do they get huge amounts of individuals to drop in on their titles time and again? If they would ask themselves questions like that, they could actually gear towards success. But they don't want to ask questions like that. Remember, this is the company that is bringing you Black Crown. Black Crown has some of the worst individuals I have ever seen under its roof. So this company, they do not want to do any type of introspection when you're talking about this. Anyhow, continuing. IDW Publishing added Star Wars to its powerful line of kids' properties, with the first titles hitting at the end of the year. You notice that kids' properties thing? That's an interesting way of putting that. A full lineup for fiscal year 2018 includes graphic novel film adaptations, a monthly ongoing series, and special one-shots and tie-in events. Basically, they're saying we are going to milk Star Wars dry. Continuing. IDW Publishing added the classic popular title Sonic the Hedgehog to its publishing portfolio, with a major launch announced for April 2018. Sonic, a beloved video game title for more than 25 years, is one of the most successful kids' properties in the comic book market. Now, I'm not sure about that, pro or con. I hope that the claim's there. I hope that it actually sells well. I do know that fiscal year 2018 will not see any impact of that till April, so you can't really judge that until that quarter. And also, one of the things with that, you always have to ask yourself, Sonic back in the day, maybe it sold better because of pricing. I don't know. I do know, however, that when you're talking about coming off of $4 or possibly more, when they're talking about increased printing costs, that really hits parents. Parents are the ones buying this stuff. And a lot of parents will not buy something based on Sonic the Hedgehog for that kind of price. They would rather go out and invest in something else. When you're getting close to that $5 range, a lot of kids are not going to come off of $5 to buy a comic book like that. The marketing of that, it's questionable to me. I mean, if you're talking 5,000 to 8,000 comic books, if that's really what they're striving for, sure, I'm sure they can hit that. But, when you're talking about higher numbers, I don't know if I see that happening. Now, continuing. IDW Publishing's October launch of Black Crown, adult-oriented, creator-driven imprint, has already built buzz and will provide an eclectic slate of titles, which will further build an already impressive lineup of properties available for entertainment development. Now, again, under that slot, under Black Crown, we have seen some of the worst people imaginable getting together. And you're going to see more and more stuff come out of there with that label on it. When you're seeing that, notice how fast a lot of these titles, they die off. For one reason or another, you see these things, they tank because the people involved in them, a lot of them are awful human beings again. For myself, I actually had one of their titles pulled until I found out that the person on there was not only a Blockbot user, but was somebody that disparaged customers all the time. IDW has problems under its roof, and even if they're talking about creator-driven imprints, they still need to look at what happens under their name, what is represented under their their title. But again, they won't do that. They have not learned. They didn't learn when they lost 91% net income in one quarter. They didn't look introspectively. They blamed other people like Marvel, and they'll continue to do so. So anyhow, continuing. IDW Publishing's game division, IDW Games, is focused on long-term development and is adding a breadth of titles for 2018, including Sonic the Hedgehog, Nickelodeon classic characters, Dragon Ball Z, and additional mass-market titles with wide appeal. Now, I've never looked into their games division, so I do know that they produce some interesting board games, though. So I actually think the Top Shelf imprint, which is covered in the next portion, is kind of a good thing that I've seen interesting stuff from. But at the same time, you know, when they produce a $80 board game, it's kind of hard to really say pro or con how that kind of stuff does. Now, continuing, IDW Publishing's Top Shelf imprint found continued success with new titles such as Surfside Girls, aimed squarely at the growing young adult girls market. And in 2018, IDW Publishing will release one of the most anticipated titles among comic book fans, Alan Moore's final series of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, you know, Alan Moore, he is a crazy individual. Looking at some of his stuff, I know that his name garners certain attention, so they'll definitely get sales. I do wonder what they have to give him to bring him on. And finally here, IDW Publishing's push into international markets continues with licensing into more territories and with a greater variety of publishers than ever before. Now, that's always a good move. You're definitely going to have to grow internationally. That's something comic books needs to understand. But the thing these people don't understand is when they put in certain types of politics, be it domestic politics as far as the U.S. is concerned, or be it something in there shaped like identity politics, some of the places that they're trying to sell to, they will not buy what you're selling. You cannot flavor it like that. You have to flavor it for the every person out there. And that, again, is something that these people will not do. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting read here. And when you go over it, it is amazing to see the real world impact of some of these decisions are actually having. When you look at IDW comic books, you know, a lot of, if they were smaller, a lot of places would not be able to really stand what is happening here. So you have to ask yourself, how long before we either see certain publishers fall or certain ones actually change what they're doing? Hopefully it won't be long, but you know, personally, I think we'll actually see something big. I think we'll see somebody fall off and not exist in the way that we understand them. I think we'll actually see something topple and have to be reshelved and changing the dynamics around. We've actually seen that to a degree in places like DC over the last couple of years, but I think one of the smaller people, I think they may actually fall before this is all over with. Anyhow, let me know what you think about this stuff. I think it's personally crazy, but you know, let's talk about it, all of that. Thank you.